Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to see you again here in our webinar series, what is organized based on the project Latvia Second, which aims to support Ukrainian enterprises and business support organizations to enter European Union market and to be ready for doing business with European Union. So my name is Līga Sičeva. I'm from Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I will be today moderator for the webinar Export Standards in EU Food, Textile and Furniture Manufacturing Sectors. And step by step we will go through the agenda, what is quite long. We will discuss different topics about European Union standards, about export regulations and other necessary things that Ukrainian companies can do export to the European Union. Our technical requirements today is in the way that after each presentation I will give you a questions and answers session. So feel free to write in chat each questions and I will read them to our speakers. Additionally, if some kind of questions will arise after the presentations, we will share the presentations to the Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and they will share those presentations to each participant from webinars. So in there will be also available email address where everybody is welcome to write your questions to experts, and they will give you the best answer what they can provide. So today I would like to give opening words, remarks to Mrs. Sintija Rupjā, Head of Development Cooperation Division from Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Latvia. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. It's indeed my pleasure to give some welcoming words on behalf of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And first, congratulations to the Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry on the courage to implement our development cooperation project that aims to support integration of Ukraine's SMEs and businesses into the European single market. Today's meeting is another important step in this project, which aims to establish contacts between Latvian and Ukrainian businesses. This is the second project, so the next will follow soon, already next week. So we are very happy to see how this is developing. On Ukraine remains Latvia's priority, including in development cooperation policy, covering areas from urgent relief provision to fostering Ukraine's reform process and European integration. Our support to Ukraine amounts to at least 1.29% of our GDP, reaching at least 526 million euros. We are committed to engage in the reconstruction of Chernihiv region. We are cooperating with local authorities there, and they are facilitating also then contacts with local businesses. Of course, integration in the European common market, it's not possible without good cooperation, and that's why we have today's seminar, where you will address food, textile and furniture manufacturing sectors. And yes, again, I would like to thank our partners here in Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry for your work on this project. All the good luck, and hope that you will have a very good and productive discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sintija, for such lovely and opening words. Yes, of course, we also would like to say thank you, huge thank you for Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Latvia, who is financing the project, and for giving trust to Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry to implement this project. And of course, we would like to say also a huge thank you to Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who is our co-partner Ukraine and supports to work with Ukrainian business support organizations and enterprises as well. So with this, I would like to give a floor to next speaker. Today we will have a quite practical webinar, and the next speaker will be Iveta, Zemniece, Deputy Director for Veterinary Border Control, and she will have a presentation about requirements and procedures for importing products of animal origin and feed of plant origin into European Union. So Iveta, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning for all participants, and of course thank you for this possibility to share with our knowledges and present most of information in so short time, because I have only 20 minutes for presentation, and I really try to following by timetable. Shortly, firstly, I would like to introduce by myself. I am veterinarian and I work for border control more than 28 years, and I'm involved in veterinary border control work organization. And for today, I shortly introduce you with requirements and procedures, shortly about procedures for importing of products of animal origin. And the last slides shortly again introduce with import requirements for feed of plant origin import into European Union territory. Firstly, there on the screen you see our Latvian map, and Food and Veterinary Services have 15 border control posts located on European borders. Latvia have a long border line with Russia and a little bit shortest border line with Belarus, and on both those borders European Commission approved following border control posts for following goods and live animal controls. On the one roof, Latvia, as another member states, organize border controls for not only for live animals, but of course for products of animal origin, which one including composite products, germinal products, animal byproducts, and also high-end straw. And then on the one roof, on one border control points, we organize controls also for plant products, wood and wood products, and wood packaging products, and for food and feed of non-animal origin, and also for materials intended for controls for contact with food. A little bit about my area, as I am veterinarian and I'm responsible for animal and animal origin product controls. At the Latvian border we have two road beeps, which one located on the Russian border, another on Belarusian border, which one are approved for live animal controls. And for animal origin product controls, there are road beeps, railway beeps located on Russian-Belarusian border side, and on west borders we have also two port border control points, and of course in Riga we have also not only border control posts for animal origin product controls at Riga port, but also in Riga airport. Now about veterinary border control work, how does it organized, and where we could find which products are subject to veterinary control. Our work is easy if we're looking from side of legislative basis, because in a European regulation from 2021 632 are put in all lists of goods, including live animals, which are subjected to veterinary border controls. On the screen you see one little example where you see how does it working, what is put into these regulations Annex 1, and there you see that all goods which one planning to come into European market, we split it or give for them abbreviation starting with CN codes. And talking about CN codes, it's the same CN codes, tariq codes, which one using our colleagues from customs authorities, and we work together at the border with customs authorities. And if we're talking, for example, about milk and milk products, and using this CN codes 0401, we always understand, we know it's about milk products, and all those products go under border control and subjected to following requirements. If those products coming from non-European countries, as we says, coming from third countries, for border inspectors helping this part in the annexes, which one presented explanation and qualification notice. Of course, all goods which one coming into internal market of European Union receiving this CN code, but inspectors must understand what type of production is coming up into European Union, and must understand how inspector preparing this veterinary border control for each of them. There you see illustrative part shortly, how does it working in practical way when consignment come to BCPs, shortly border control point, and how does it working in real life. All consignments and all decisions which one preparing by border control inspectors, we put into, submitted into European IT system named Traces. And talking about veterinary border control, before consignment coming into border control point, always all economical operator preparing, fulfilling prior notification. Prior notification for all, not only for live animals, but of course for all products of animal origin, for human consumption, not for human consumption, for all consignments receiving pre-notifications through Traces system. And there you see some abbreviation, SHED-P and SHED-E. What does it mean? Those are border control documents, common health entry documents for products. It means P, and A means for animals. After analysis of prior notification, our inspectors still waiting for presentation of real goods at the border control point. During control process, our inspectors organize and controlled all goods by following steps. Firstly, inspector analyzed and preparing documentary check, then identity checks. If we're talking about those two checks, documentary and identity checks, preparing 100% for all consignments of live animals and products of animal origin who are incoming into border control posts for control. And the third control is physical checks, and physical checks we organize by the reduced way. It's under regulation against European Commission regulation, and after physical checks, inspector issuing a decision about consignment, what's happening. If everything is okay during documentary identity and where necessary for physical checks, inspector issuing decision into SHED-P or SHED-A document and accept following movement for consignment, and consignment go to customs authorities and organize receiving customs procedures. And the last part is, of course, way to the establishment of the destination. If there are some problems, then at the border, inspector against issuing a decision through Shed P or Shed A document, and decision is not so good for business operator, and there is possibility reject consignment or change consignment destination for example, for installation place or another way. In one word, I would like to say that following some measures, but different measures, not the same as the firstly were planned. Now shortly about import conditions or general requirements if we're talking about products of animal origin. As I said previously, work for inspectors at the border is not so hard since 2 years ago European Commission issuing common legislative acts named Official Control Regulation, and based on Official Control Regulation there are following implementing and delegated regulative acts which one organize specific requirements for meat products, milk, dairy, eggs products, apiculture products, and etc. And as colleagues from Latvian Chamber says, all presentation you receiving, I do not spend my time to introduce you with each of regulative acts. There you have possibility to find them, and if there are some needs to or interest to import it into Latvia, into European Union, some type of animal origin products, you are very welcome, and there is possibility to find where you could find list of third countries, for example, or examples of certificate for each group of animal origin products. Talking about animal origin products, the first point so important are followings. If business operator knows the requirements, always this product entrance into European Union is not so hard, not complicated. And there are only 3 basic principles. If a product comes from third countries or territory who are listed in for particular species and category of products of animal origin, if this product come from approved and listed establishments, and each consignment must accompanied by original official certificate, there isn't any problem. But of course, in real life, this process is not so easy as I explained. But in first step, if some of participants in webinar just thinking about possibility to organize this possible movement of some goods of animal origin sending to European territory, I hope this is a good opportunity to put your understanding in your mind. How does it work in European border, in European system? Country, establishment, and certificate. Shortly about country list. All country lists, as I explained in previous slides, are put into regulative acts, regulations. But of course, only third countries or some regions of third countries which have been submitted appropriate evidence and guarantees about animals' health and goods quality, which one all consent comply with the requirements of European Union legislation in the area of food area, have possibility to import it into European territories. Of course, when I talking about not fresh meat, not fresh fishery products or aquaculture products, but for production of meat products or dairy products, there always coming requirements for specific treatment who has been applied for meat products or dairy products and another production industry. The next point also important is transportation, because when you organize transportation for animal origin products, they always do not forget about requirements for appropriate means of transport. If there are needs for frozen or ambient temperature regime, always do not forget about appropriate and normally organized transport vehicle or container or another type of transportation. And the last one point, which one I would like to point it out, are that products are separated from the products which were not complying with the EU rules. What does it mean? Shortly, it means that when you're planning imported into European Union some production, do not put in one transport, for example, products who stayed in European market together with maybe some the same type of products which one go outside of European Union, for example, to South America or another country. It means transit, but about transit requirements shortly on the next slides. List of third countries, as I says, put into regulative acts. There on the screen you see that one unique regulation since 2021 we have where put 22 lists covering only animal health requirements, and in addition there are another regulative acts 405 where lies down the list of third countries covering public health. Because when we're talking about products of animal origin, there are two basic principles, risk assessment principles. One of them goes to animal health and another goes to public health. And all those principles put it into both regulation goes to not only live animal consignment controls, but also for products of animal origin and germinal products too. And the fourth principle, if you listening carefully, you listed that there are three principles: country, establishment, certificate, and the fourth principles for importing into European Union of products of animal origin is residue monitoring plan. And only from countries with approved residue monitoring plan for products is possibility to import it, for example, bovine or porcine or another type of meats or another type of products. There on the screen I put a situation for today. What about Ukrainian production products of animal origin? And there you see this notice and huge of works of my colleagues, our colleagues in Ukrainian veterinary service that at today you have possibility to importing into European market meat products from coming from bovine, porcine and poultry. You have a possibility imported some kinds of production from aquaculture sector, also from milk, eggs and rabbit meat. And not so long time ago, Ukraine receiving this possibility to import it into European market, also honey and casings. Yeah. I would like that, I just imagine that maybe some of you would like to ask where we could find this approved list of establishments. And again, I repeat, as I says, that that's not so hard to find where is this list. And into presentation, I put this web page addresses. And through European web page addresses, you could find everything, every information about all third countries, which one have approved establishments. And if we again looking what is situation about Ukraine, there you see for Ukrainian animal origin products, there is so many possibility and there are so many approved establishments. For example, in the first place are dairy production, then coming fishery products, and I a little bit surprised where I preparing this presentation that there is 30 establishments for frog legs and snails, which one producing by Ukraine and receiving this approval to import into European market. I have time. Yeah, I have time. Yeah, thank you. And shortly about third basic principle for importing of animal origin products is about certificates. There on presentation you find all necessary number of regulations, but shortly the general regulation where you could find how does it look at the certificate for import of animal origin products. There is one general in the first place put it regulation 2235, where including certificates for animals and goods for human consumption. Then for aquatic animals there in another regulation, and of course different regulation European Commission issued by German product import into European market and terrestrial animal imports. When you're planning some product import into European Union, please do not forget about special import conditions. And talking about your country, for Ukraine, are in force Commission decision from 2002/805 about residues of veterinary medicines, and be sure when you plan to import it into Europe, milk powder or some milk, another milk production, that at the border you're receiving 100 physical control for testing of residues, in particular for chloramphenicol. As I promised, couple of slides of transit requirements. Transit in European Commission meaning that is a movement of goods from one third country to another third country, crossing the territory of European Union. And also for transit consignment, we performing veterinary control at the border. And all this consignment crossing European territory, not only after performing veterinary control, but of course under customs supervision also. When you against, I hope you checked our presentation, you could slowly following step by step how does it organized in real way by the European territory. But now on the last slide, I put a little bit information about feed of plant origin import into European territory. Shortly, non-animal origin feed, including following position. There are not only feed additives, but also feed materials, compound feed, and all those groups are strictly regulated against by European legislative acts. And for example, talking about feed additives, into European market are allowed only import of feed additives, which when listed in feed additive register. It's the same about if we're talking about some premixtures or another type of not animal origin feeds. But as I do not have so many time, I skip some slides, and on the last slide, shortly about general principles of import control organization at the border. When some feed of non-animal origin are introduced into European Union market and are not released for free circulation in territory of the member state which carried out the checks, for example, at the border of Lithuania comes some feed of non-animal origin, Lithuanian colleagues preparing just only documentary checks and issuing in positive decision document indicating the type of checks carried out, and the final destination of this non-animal origin feed, competent authority, for example, in Latvia, we finishing these procedures. Shortly, I would like to say about this feed of non-animal origin. These procedures are not so strictly and not so strong. For example, as we talking about products of animal origin, but anyway, for all consignments of feed of non-animal origin, inspector issuing standard document, again common health entry document for products of non-animal origin, and we always using this European IT system traces. And this document always shall accompany the consignment until import. I hope I am on the time, maybe a little bit skip, but sorry about it.
Thank you very much, Iveta. I think you tried really greatly to present all the details and all these kind of challenging issues, because when I was looking all those documents and regulations, I was thinking that actually, first of all, your product is like your kid, but you should be carried carefully in safe transport, and then you should put all the documents around your product carefully if you are willing to travel with your kid, and taking care about your kid fully, like responsible from taking care about it till using it till transporting it. So I think, and this is the reason about those attitude which should be used when you are exporting your goods to European Union. And really thank you about digital links what you put in the presentation, because there's some history ago when I worked with import and export, and those databases are really useful tool how to understand how to act forward with all these import and export issues. So thank you very much, Iveta, about your presentation. And so step by step we are going to our next speaker. It will be our next expert about requirements and procedures for importing food of non-animal origin into European Union. So in the first presentation, we had this focus more on animal origin products and feed, but now we will go away from this non-animal products to this different type of products that are maybe has a more, maybe they have more easy restrictions, or they are less, or it's more easy to import them to European Union. We will see it after the presentation that will be provided by Tatjana Garanča, Deputy Director for Food and Non-Food Border Control. Thank you.
Good day to everyone. As a moderator said, I'm Tatjana Garanča, and like Iveta, I have been working for the Control Authority more than 20 years. And I would like just point that to know the requirements before import means less problems at the border. If we are speaking about import of non-animal products, there are two different approaches. One of them is mandatory controls at the border control post, and other one is controls in the accordance with the national legislation of EU countries. And as I said, that mandatory controls should be done at the first border control post, and the other controls, it depends on the EU member countries. And if we are speaking about mandatory controls, there is some common regulation, and I'm sorry. Okay, and there are some regulative acts where they mention countries and products which have been controlled at the border. And if we're speaking about this non-animal products and Ukraine, I'm sorry. Yeah. The most engaging act is 1158 of year 2020, and it's regarding wild mushrooms, berries, blueberries such as cranberries and other non-cultivated. And if you wish to export to the Europe these products, then at the first border control post, inspectors will make 100 documentary control, and driver, for example, of truck or responsible for this consignment should present commercial documents, identification, which is should be made through the TRACES system, is a commission system, and should present official certificates with laboratory reports. Official certificates have to be issued by the control authority of the Ukraine. For example, if it's mushrooms or berries from Ukraine. And at the border, inspectors have to prepare identification controls, and usually it's in the accordance with regulation 20% for consignment, for 20% of consignments. And they check some information which is mentioned in certificate, for example, code of products, but it's other code, that's tariff code. It's like a lot number, and physical checks with sampling. If we speaking about official certificate, it's very useful to know that this official certificate have been issued by the competent authority, not by the producer or exporter. And this certificate could be issued based on laboratory analysis and have to be in European language, which is understand this certifying person and the language of country where to these products planned to export. And this certificate must be issued before consignment leaves this country and valid only 4 months. And in this regulation, which I previously mentioned, 1158 of year 2020, there is a 4th annex, and in this annex mentioned all information and how to be fulfilled this certificate. In this basis, as well, exporter before importing be able to check if the certificate contains all information which is mentioned in these remarks. As I said, each consignment of these mushrooms, wild mushrooms and wild berries have to be identified by special identification code, and this code have to be mentioned on the label, in certificate and lab test report. It means that if, for example, you will plan to export a consignment of 20 or 2,000 kilograms of mushrooms or berries, you have to prepare for this, exactly for this consignment, these tests, and you have to label this consignment with special this code marks. And about laboratory test, this sample must be taken by the competent authority, not by the producer or exporter. Of course, regarding languages is same as was regard certificate, and of course these analyses have to be ended before consignment leaves this third country, and this certificate valid not more 6 months. And requirements for this laboratory test is cesiums 137, and the limits you can see in this presentation. And in some cases when this official certificate could be replaced and couldn't be replaced. I just to save the time, and if you have question, you can write in email and I will answer, but we are going for the next. For example, in the cases when consignee, importer, border control post or vehicle truck changed, and this all information of course included in this certificate, but some incidents and for example exporter to decide to reload this consignment to another car, because you know this situation, and go to the other border control post. We don't need make any changes in certification, and the control authority for the control authority not allowed to ask the new one if this for position change in real situation. And if we ask it for this mandatory control, we are spoke about these mushrooms and wild berries from Ukraine. For the other control, for the other products, exist only controls with national legislation of EU countries. And exception, for example, if we are speaking about Latvian border, exception is for example, if this consignment has been controlled by the competent authority in other member state, and you have evidence, some border control documents, And if this consumer is small amount of goods for the scientific purposes or for the samples, exhibition, and so on, and this products not be placed on the market. For the bigger consignment as well, we make at the borders, at the Latvian border, 100 documentary controls, and we need only commercial documents. For example, if it's grains or dried fruits or cakes or some, for example, noodles, pasta, such as just commercial document. It's very simple. And then we make risk-based identity controls, and we just looking for the labeling, minimum labeling. It's name of product, name of address of importer. If the exporter, okay, we accept as well. Then best before, lot number, and specific storage or transportation condition if they are. And risk-based physical controls. If we see that there's no risk and sample, we are planning to take sample with under monitoring plan, this consignment have to be released and go to the destination point or importer. But if some risk, we could to stop this consignment till the laboratory results are received. Next one. But if we are speaking about fresh fruit and vegetables, there is another one control, not food safety, but also phytosanitary requirements. And there my colleague prepared 3 slides about these requirements, the specifically for the phytosanitary certificate. And as we know, our colleagues in Ukraine know about these rules and issue this phytosanitary certificate. And as well, marketing standards for the fresh fruits and vegetables, and there's some standards of this regulation, and these products have to be accompanied by the documents. Should be mentioned as a country of origin and some information that we can see in this slide. And the last but not least, it's about wood packaging material. If this consignment moved on the wood packaging materials, and for example pallets, they must be treated and marked with special marks in the according with international standard of phytosanitary measures, and this standard number 15. And if there are, for example, we observe that this mark absent, it's maybe some problems at the border. It's all from my side. Thank you very much. And we hope that we always will ask us for the requirement before you importing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tatjana, for such a constructive presentation, especially that it's like visible that this non-animal origin products is a little bit more easy to import to European Union, but meanwhile you need to keep in mind everything about packaging, what is actually a topic, especially if you are using wood pallets and these kind of things. And of course, this is good to recognize it already, because today we also will have a presentation about sustainable packaging European Union and Latvia, but it will be a little bit later. And yes, Tatjana, it was your contacts also were presented in presentation. So if somebody has a questions, at least so far I don't see any kind of questions in chat. And at least my colleagues are not marking it that there might be some questions. So if somebody will have a questions in practical things, then please feel free to write Tatjana, and she will give you an answer about to your questions. So Step by step, we are moving to next presentation, what will be presented by Irena Knoka, Head of Unit National Custom Board, State Revenue Service, and she will have a presentation about import formalities in the European Union. Irena, the floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to participate in this very useful event, providing information on import formalities for goods entering European Union from Ukraine. I hope there will be no problems with sharing my presentation, because normally I use Teams platform and it takes a little bit time to accustom to Zooms because some things are vice versa than in Teams. I hope you will see my presentation on the whole screen. So let's start. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Irena Knoka. I'm head of Customs Methodology Division of the Latvian National Customs Board, and I'm working with customs legislation for more than 30 years. And we have passed all the process of joining European Union, and I know that Ukrainian customs are also preparing Ukrainian customs legislation and to make it as close as it is possible to the EU customs legislation. But first, a little bit how to find Latvian customs. According to our Latvian legislation, customs is a part of state revenue service. It means that in Latvia, customs and tax authorities are a part of this one service, and we are working together. We can therefore check both customs duties and taxes, and also taxes on consumption like excise taxes and value-added tax. And exchange of information, therefore, is also very well organized. And if you need to communicate both customs or tax authorities, it is possible to communicate electronically via State Revenue Service electronic declaration system, but unfortunately it's not possible for all companies, especially those ones who are coming from third countries, but for companies which are registered taxpayers. For other companies, of course, written communication is always possible via emails, or you can contact our consultation service. You can choose different options, and customs is one of options for our consultation service. So don't be shy and use all these possibilities. Customs processes are very standardized internationally, and the same goes to the European Union customs legislation because it complies with World Customs Organization's conventions and standards. And European Union also is a customs union. It means that all EU member states are applying the same customs legislation. On one hand, it looks like that in all EU member states, customs should work in the same way. Unfortunately, in EU member states, customs have also other different responsibilities. In some member states, customs are performing border control tasks and functions. In some member states, customs are dealing with excise duties and VAT, in some member states not. So there are unfortunately these differences, and you have to take into account when performing import formalities. Luckily, most of the processes performed and carried out on the external border are more or less the same, especially regarding standard processes. As you see in my presentation, first information which should be submitted to the EU customs is entry summary declaration. Entry summary declarations are used in the most of the countries all over the world. And this is information necessary to carry out risk analysis for the purposes of safety and security. And in European Union, at the moment, we have period when two systems can be used. One system, electronic system, let's say older system, is used for road transport, for trains and trucks, and quietly new system is being introduced for vessels, for seaports, and for air transport. It means that transporters who are responsible for lodgement of the entry summary declaration have to know which one system they have to choose. Regarding land transport, situation is a little bit easier because normally customs brokers or customs agents working on the EU side are ready to help to submit this entry summary declaration. Upon arrival of the mean of transport at the EU border, for sea and air transport, arrival notification should be lodged. Systems can be different. Some member states are using temporary storage systems. Some member states are using port authority systems or customs systems. So situations can differ from seaport or airport from one member state to another. Of course, goods should be presented to customs because depending on risk analysis results carried for entry summary declaration, customs should check or not to check goods regarding safety and security measures. And it's very good for me to give a presentation after experts from Food and Veterinary Service because as they told to you that so-called mandatory controls for goods for their authority shall be completed at the time of border crossing. Of course, depending on situation, sometimes there are only documentary controls, sometimes there are physical controls, but more precise information, of course, was in their presentations. When goods has arrived in the EU customs territory and presented to the customs, it is possible to put the goods in the temporary storage. It can be done on the near the border crossing points if there are temporary storage places. Normally, you can find temporary storage places in seaports and in airports, but not always in the border crossing points on the land border. Therefore, it is allowed to move the goods to the inland customs offices using transit procedure. And only then put goods in the temporary storage. Of course, it is not mandatory to put goods in the temporary storage. You can apply customs procedures directly after discharging transit procedure. What you have to know is that some EU member states has different attitude. And not all EU member states allow, for example, to release goods for free circulation directly on the border crossing points. In Latvia, we have such possibility. You can apply customs procedure release for free circulation immediately after entering EU customs territory. However, in our neighbor countries, Estonia, Lithuania, and Poland, there are not always such possibility. And you have to move goods to the inland customs offices applying a transit procedure. However, for Ukrainian transporters, it should be good to use different facilitation possibilities. For example, TIR carnets and common transit procedure. Ukrainian is part of Common Transit Convention, and it means that for Ukrainian transporters is allowed to apply transit. Please remember always that transit concepts are different for different authorities. And customs concepts of transit are different as our colleagues in food and veterinary service. For customs, transit means movement of goods between two customs points located in EU customs territory, and it does not matter where these customs points are located. They can be located on the external border or somewhere inland of the EU customs territory. Main concept is that goods are moved under customs supervision. And returning to this common transit procedure, it is recommended to complete Ukrainian export formalities in Ukrainian territory and apply for common transit procedure, or as another possibility, TIR carnet. In such situation, when goods and of course means of transport are arriving at the Ukrainian EU border, entering the European Union, of course it is necessary to present the goods and transit document to the EU customs authority of the member state. And then upon the same transit procedure, it is possible to move to the final destination in the member state where there is intention to put the goods under appropriate customs procedure. So there are less customs formalities, and it is always good to know that you are moving and without necessary to ask for services of other persons like customs brokers working in the customs point on the external border of the European Union. Sometimes it takes a lot of time to get these services, and it also takes a lot of money to pay additionally for their services. When you are willing to discharge transit procedure, as I mentioned, it is always possible to put goods in the temporary storage places. However, temporary storage places can be used to store the goods only for 90 days, and after these 90 days, it is mandatory to do something. You can move goods to the third countries, you can destruct them, but normal standard is that goods are put under customs procedure. And for customs procedures for imported goods, you can choose. Of course, most common customs procedure for import is release for free circulation. When you are paying customs duties and taxes, and in most of the EU member states, national taxes on consumption, like VAT and excise taxes, but of course there are some possibilities to suspend these taxes on consumption. But there are other possibilities. We have two very well-known customs procedures which can allow to store goods for longer time. There are no time limits for storage of goods in the customs warehouses or in free zones. Customs warehousing procedure, also Ukrainian commerce can use, because warehousing procedure allows to store the goods without paying duties and taxes, and there are no necessary to provide to customs additional licenses or authorizations if such documents are necessary for the goods. Free zones procedures, you can't apply in all of the EU member states. Only small part of EU member states are creating free zones. Latvia is one of member states, and our seaports are working with free zones procedure. Free zones procedure can be a little bit cheaper because it is not mandatory to provide guarantee for free zones procedure, and a free zones procedure is the only one customs procedure where it is not necessary to lodge customs declaration. Entry in the free zones register is used as instead of customs declaration for this procedure. So if you are only looking forward to your partners, or you need to distribute goods between different member states, customs warehouses and free zones are highly recommended for you. Temporary admission, also a well-known customs procedure. However, traditionally, temporary admission is used for quite limited purposes like exhibitions, testing, fairs, and so on. Temporary admission is subject to the customs authorization. It means that if you are willing to apply for temporary admission in one of the EU member states, it is mandatory to communicate with customs authority of this member state to receive authorization. Also, quite interesting procedure is end use, which is very, very similar to the release for free circulation. However, when applying end-use procedure, you need authorization, but customs tariffs are lower or zero rate in comparison with release for free circulation. But authorization from a customs authority is necessary. Usually end-use procedure is used for goods which are deemed to produce something from these goods, for example, to make a jam from cranberries and so on. The similar procedure is inward processing. However, there are some differences. End-use procedure is used like release for free circulation, but inward processing does not allow to use goods like they are free in circulation. Inward processing procedure is more strictly supervised from customs, and of course it is also subject to customs authorization. And for inward processing, specific time limits are established. For food, it is not more than 3 years time limit. For other goods, these time limits can be up to 5 years to get the authorization for inward processing. Inward processing includes also repair of the goods and destruction of the goods as well. However, I hope that destruction of the goods is not the purpose to import goods from the Ukraine to the European Union. About customs declaration, principles in the whole European Union are the same. However, some minor differences exist. And one of the biggest differences is how user can access customs systems. In most so-called old EU member states, only system-to-system access is allowed. It means for newcomers into the market, it is necessary to use services of customs agents or customs brokers, or to buy such system-to-system access. But in Baltic states, in Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, historically it is popular to create a so-called user-trader interface. It means that every person who is EU registered taxpayer have free of payment access to this declaration system. In Latvia, this free access to the customs systems is organized via State Revenue Service electronic declaration system. It means that your business partners here in Latvia can declare goods for import procedures by themselves. This is cheaper than in so-called old member states where specific system-to-system access is necessary. Electronic payments are also being organized via official website, and it means that if payments are being done via this official website, they are immediately in the state accounts, and a release of the goods can be very, very quickly done. So all customs formalities in European Union are wholly electronical way. So only wire systems. No paper documents are accepted. Only supporting documents can be added to these electronic customs declarations. In Latvian customs system, you can add scanned document versions, except those documents where customs written marks are necessary. And one of such documents which can be very useful and let's say more or less mandatory are documents necessary to apply for preferential tariff rates. Because European Union and Ukraine has concluded association agreements allowing to apply these preferential tariffs regarding goods imported from Ukraine. And this is a situation where I have to remind, don't trust journalists. Unfortunately, when journalists are interpreting this association agreement, it looks like that all goods coming from Ukraine are of zero customs duty rate. No, unfortunately, this is not the truth. Zero tariff is applied only when proofs of origin are lodged to the customs authorities. And proofs of origin are included in this association agreement and in Regional Convention of Pan-Euro-Mediterranean Preferential Rules of Origin. Your Ukrainian customs knows these rules, and you can always go to Ukrainian customs to ask to approve these movement certificates, or exporters are allowed to issue origin declarations. So if you are exporting goods to the European Union, always prepare these documents. because then you have some preferences in accordance with importers from other so-called third countries importing goods to the European Union. What else is good to know? My colleagues from Food and Veterinary Service told you about rules regarding their controls, but these are not the only one controls, not the only one rules. And customs is not the only one another institution checking the goods. Information about different rules applied in the European Union you can find in a market access database. It is very, very useful tool where you can find not only information about customs tariffs, about different prohibitions and restrictions applied in European Union, but also different rules regarding goods and their introduction into the European Union market. Regarding customs tariff system in European Union, there's established one common tariff database, EU tariff database. However, market access database provides more information. And if you are interested in specific rules in every EU member state, it is good to look at the member states customs website where there are links to the national tariff management systems. These national tariff management systems includes all the information which is in tariff database, but with additional information regarding consumption taxes, regarding excise duty rates, regarding value-added tax rates. Unfortunately, excise duty and value-added tax are not harmonized taxes in the European Union, and rates are different from one EU member state to another. So always check information about these taxes in national tariff management systems. In my presentation, I have a link to our national integrated tariff management system. You can simulate tax amount, and it is always good to know this amount, to know probably there are some, I hope that not for Ukraine, so-called anti-dumping duties, but it looks like they are most applied to goods coming from Eastern Asia, not Ukraine. But yes, the possibility to check this information is always a very, very practical thing. What else? Very important is to remember that unfortunately importer for customs procedures like release for free circulation, end use, inward processing should be person registered in the European Union. And if you are putting goods in the customs warehouse or free zone, then free zone or warehouse operator is registered in the European Union. However, they are providing their services to the persons registered in the third countries, including Ukraine. So customs warehousing, free zones, temporary admission is accessible for European European partners registered in Ukraine as well. So thank you for your attention. I hope you will get my presentation. And if you have questions, I'm ready to answer. If not,
Okay. Thank you, Irene, for your presentation and for sharing your deep expertise in the field. We really highly appreciate your support for this webinar and for being with us today. We have one question, but I'm not so sure that this question, I have a feeling that this question might go to the previous speakers who already has left our lovely studio. But meanwhile, still, I think I will read it. And Irene, if you have an option to share maybe some part of your know-how, then feel free to do it. And if you see that it's more connected with veterinary service, then those experts, then a person who gave this question, we will invite to send this question to our experts what shared their email address previously. So the question is, can you please inform what state standards or requirements are applied during export of wheat flour to European Union? What classifications is popular to European Union? As we know, there are type 550 and type 450 in such countries as Germany and Great Britain. Can you submit sources for reference? And please inform regarding quality indicators of wheat flour, gluten content. Is it important? Irene, do you have some comments on this question, or we are inviting this person to submit this question to the previous speakers?
Yes, this is question to Food and Veterinary Service. Probably you can find some information market access database. But if they are strictly national rules, there can be no information regarding these requirements. One more remark regarding Great Britain. As you know, Great Britain is no more EU member state, and they are changing their rules that there can be differences between European Union rules and Great Britain rules, unfortunately. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Irene, very much for being with us today. And to the person who gave the question, we will put the email addresses in the chat from the speakers, from previous speakers, so you will have already direct options to copy-paste the questions to them. And yes, we are moving forward to the next speaker. Next speaker will be Iveta, a member of Zero Waste Latvia. She will have a presentation about sustainable packaging in European Union and Latvia. As you might know, sustainability issues are the most one of the most topics in European Union at the moment. And in the future, I think every single company who will do business in European Union will need to think about sustainability, about sustainable packaging, about sustainability, sustainable strategy in the company. So, Iveta, the floor is yours.
Hello. I'm very happy when I can speak with companies, because usually when we speak about sustainability and packaging, the emphasis is on the people. Like how to teach people to sort their waste, how can people buy and make good choices. But honestly, the more I deal with the topic, responsibility is on the side of producers, because people are buying the things that they have access to, the things they have in the market. And today I will speak first of all on the issues of packaging and why we speak about it. Then I will deal with different types of packaging and pros and cons when we speak about sustainability. And in the end, I will speak about upcoming EU legislation regarding packaging, basically packaging and packaging waste regulation that's kind of in discussions now in the European Union. So why do we speak about packaging? Sometimes people think it's about living green, but honestly it's about the way how we move forward and how we can enjoy our lifestyle that we've used to without destroying ourselves and the nature around us. As we see, municipal waste in EU has been increasing and it's still increasing. On one hand, it's good because usually when we see that amount of waste is increasing, it means that people are living better. Unfortunately, our recycling rates are not increasing as quick as they should. As you can see, packaging, it's not a small part of our municipal waste, so the waste produced by people, it's quite big. It depends, of course, from the country, but it can be, as you can see, more than 200 kilograms per year in Germany. And as you can see in the graph below it, packaging waste is increasing. Amount of recycled packaging waste is not rising as quick as it should. I would like to make a division because sometimes when we speak about packaging, people always think about plastic. Like it's plastic, it's packaging, plastic, packaging, and a kind of mixing these two issues, plastic and packaging. I would like to point out that we produce and use other types of packaging, not only plastic, and people who are not working in commerce, they are surprised when they see that almost half of the packaging that we use is cardboard. For those of you, and of course all of you are dealing with business to business practices, you know that behind of the scenes everything is packed in these huge beautiful cardboard boxes. So cardboard is the biggest flow of packaging that we have, and as you can see, plastic, it's 20%. It just has this issue that come with it. So as I said before, I will go through some types of packaging and their pros and cons. I will speak about plastic, I will speak about cardboard, paper, I will speak about glass and bioplastics, because these are the things that people usually think when they are choosing the packaging for their product. And I will speak about reduction of packaging waste as well. So basically, when we speak about plastic packaging as like the bad thing, I know that companies love to use plastic packaging, and they have some basis, and some of these aspects are good for environment as well. Like, for example, plastic, of course, it's lighter, so when we transport it compared to, for example, glass packaging and even cardboard packaging, it's much lighter. It means we have lower CO2 emissions. It's durable. For those of you who are packaging food, you know how important it is. Like plastic packaging, it's very versatile as well. You can adapt it to different products. You can use products longer, so it's nice and companies love it. It's cheap. It doesn't have any sustainability benefits, but for companies it's an important factor. And in most of the cases, it can be designed for reuse. So we can have, if we set up the systems, reusable plastic packaging. But of course, there are bad side of this beautiful, lightweight packaging, very versatile packaging. And I would say that the biggest downsides for plastic packaging from point of view of sustainability, first of all, it's lack of recyclability. I will speak about it a bit later, but we do not, I would say only those who really read papers understand how little of the packaging, I mean scientific papers, understand how little of the plastic packaging we are putting in the market is actually recycled and actually returns as packaging. We have to understand that all of the packaging that we are producing, first of all, it comes from somewhere and doesn't return in the circle. It disappears, and it's not good. It comes from fossil fuels. It means it's producing emissions, and we cannot produce plastic without using fossil fuels, and it's changing our climate, as you know. The good side that it's lightweight, it's bad thing as well, because it means it's easily dispersed in nature. You've seen what happens next to waste containers and how plastic is flowing away, how we find it in seas, how we find it everywhere. And it doesn't not degrade when littered. So if plastic is thrown out, it stays there. It's usually this investigation when we will have more plastic than fish in our oceans, and now the data, I think, was 2030, we will have more plastic than fish in the seas. And you have such things as additives, as you can, plastic, it's not only plastic, it's also things that we intentionally or unintentionally add to it when we produce it. And they end up in our cosmetics and on our food. It's not myth. EU has quite strong standards on these topics, and they're getting stronger and stronger, but plastic is not good for our health. This is the graph of how our use of plastic has been increasing. I know that business people, when they see this kind of exponential growth, they are very happy, things are going up. When people who have studied biology see these kind of graphs, they are not as happy, because they know that everything that goes up, it must go down. We cannot have this 20-time increase in use of plastic and still move, and if we don't know what we are doing with it. If we look a bit further, sometimes people think that plastic, it's a small part of packaging is small part of plastic that we use, because we have plastic everywhere. Our clothing is plastic, our electronics have plastic parts, cars have plastic parts, but actually almost 40% of plastic is used for packaging. And if you take a step back from this commodity of using plastic for packaging and really think about it, you are taking a material that lasts forever, it literally lasts forever, and you make plastic squares to put between slices of cheese or sausage. It makes no sense from logical point of view. Of course, it's comfortable for producers, but if we think about it, it's not very, very smart from us as civilization. And sometimes people, when they think about plastic packaging, they think that issue is littering. So as long as plastic doesn't end up in the nature, as long we do not see plastic on beaches, everything is okay. The issue with plastic is a bit deeper, and we have other issues, as I mentioned before. But I would like to go in a bit of depth in some of them. So as I mentioned, plastic, it's fossil fuel based. So we are using fossil fuels. And if we are going down, lowering our emissions in everything else, in electricity, in other types of production, then emissions of plastic, we are planning to increase them. And if you look at our carbon budget, so how much carbon we can emit in the future, plastic packaging will be bigger and bigger part of it. And then this issue of health, it's a very hard topic to speak about, but if you know such words as phenols and phthalates, it's just a small part of all the things that we add to plastic packaging that end up in our bodies, in nature, and if we recycle it, it just accumulates even more. So, yeah. So recyclability. Sometimes people think that everything that we sort, we recycle, and that these 3 green arrows on packaging means that packaging becomes packaging again. Actually, from all the packaging that we are using, and I remind you once more, it's 40% of all the plastic that we are using. From all this amount, only 2% of plastic returns back as plastic packaging once more. Most of it ends up somewhere, either landfill, either in nature, either incinerated, and of that we use for recycling, a lot of it is actually, I would say, the word that is usually used is downcycled. So plastic becomes textile, it becomes something else that's not recycled once more. Recycling is one more stop before plastic packaging becomes waste. As I said, people usually think that everything that they sort, it can be recycled. I can sort it in my container. It's okay. It's going to be recycled. Actually, it's not as simple, because I've dealt a lot with waste management companies, and as they want to make sorting instructions as simple as possible, and part of packaging is later sent to incineration. They are saying you can put everything in this container, but if we look at case of Latvia, and its case in most of the Europe, what's recycled, it's actually PET bottles. So no PET containers, it's only PET bottles. HDPE, LDPE. In Latvia, we are sorting for recycling multi-layer carton packaging as well. I don't know if it's in Ukraine, but in Latvia, they are known as Tetra Pak. Only the cardboard part of this packaging is recycled. If we go deeper and see where the packaging actually flows and where it goes when it's sorted, then metallic part and plastic part, it's burnt or landfilled, and only cardboard is recycled. And polypropylene, like number 5, in Latvia, at least, it only the one that came from commercial sources was recycled before. Now, more and more polypropylene is coming from people's or for packaging that's used for, that we see in the shops. It's being recycled as well. Now, say in Europe, situation is kind of similar. You don't see any recycling for 7, it means whatever else. So if you have to choose packaging materials, that's plastic, single-use plastic packaging for your products, take into account that if you use number 7, if it's not recyclable. If you use PET containers, they are not recyclable. What's recyclability? It goes beyond material. As it has been studied both internationally, and we did it in Latvia as well, I will show images later, not all packaging, even if it's made from good material, is recyclable. If you imagine what's happened with the packaging that's thrown into this recycling container, when it's taken out and put on the line, people are taking out the things that should go to recycling. Sometimes you have optical sorting lines, they work a bit differently, but the main idea is still the same. Materials are divided, and for materials to be divided, there has to be a possibility to differentiate between similar materials. You see this picture down. It was taken in our investigation of unrecyclable waste audit in one of our local waste management companies. It looks, these two bags for bread, they look very similar. One of them, it's made from polypropylene, so it has a small triangle that you can hardly see here that says 5, and another one says 4, it's HDPE. As HDPE is recyclable and recyclability of PP is a bit lower, actually people who work on the lines, they do not recycle, they do not pick out any of these bags because they are not able to differentiate it. So if you are choosing material for your product, think what are other materials in the market, and if people will be able to pick out your packaging and place it in the correct box for recycling. Size is important as well. If packaging is extremely small, nobody will take it out and put it in and sort it. Purity is important. So if you put something, such products as sauces and other products that are in packaging that are used that are impossible to clean from the packaging, it will not be recycled. Once more, it's bad, it doesn't, so people who are working on these recycling lines, they will not sort this packaging as recyclable. The worst example of this are these small sachets, you know, these small samples of ketchup, of creams, of cosmetics. Such packagings, they will not be recycled. And simplicity is important. So if you have packaging that contains both cardboard, plastic, something else, you have one material here, one material there, it will not be recycled. So cardboard boxes with plastic windows, it's one of my personal enemies, because it's first of all, it confuses people when they sort it, and then it's not recycled later on because you cannot divide these materials. Yeah, so this is the analysis that we did. This material can be found online as well, that it has been translated in English. Basically, we went to this sorting line, and we took kilos and kilos of materials that have not been sent for recycling. So people had sorted this waste, and then the station said, no, this is not the thing that we can recycle. And it was extremely interesting. It just shows how much of packaging that's not recyclable we have in the market. If we go even deeper, what does it mean to recycle? We look at PET. It's perfect recyclable material. We all sort PET bottles, I hope you do, and we think that they end up recycled. If we look deeper in the data, only 17% of all PET currently comes back as PET packaging. The rest of it, as I mentioned it goes and becomes plastic trays, clothing, whatever, and it cannot be recycled once more. It's a very good study done by Zero Waste Europe, how circular is PET. It really goes into data of flow of material and what happens with the waste that we sort. It doesn't mean that companies should not use PET bottles or that they should not, that we as people should not sort them. We just need to think that it's a bit more complex than that we have to work on deeper issues on sorting, on recyclability of materials. And the problem will not be solved just by sorting our waste. If we move forward, I would like to speak about paper, because paper, I will say the downsides of these materials that are not plastic. It doesn't mean that plastic is best. It just means that if we simply substitute plastic with other materials, we have to look a bit deeper and make some calculations and understand when using different materials makes sense. So what's good and bad about plastic? Plastic is biodegradable and it's easy to recycle when collected correctly. So that's the things that we say as good sides of the paper. If you look at bad sides from producers, it's non-hermetic, so we can use it for limited types of products. And what happens when it's not hermetic? We use plastic lining. So all the single-use paper cups that you see, I would say almost all of them, there are only some specific brands that do not use them, but almost all of them have this inner plastic lining. It makes them unrecyclable. This is a great example of greenwashing, this Hello I'm paper bottles that actually had a plastic bottle inside. It's heavier than plastic, so transporting it produces more CO2 emissions. It can be obtained non-sustainably, like yes, paper grows in trees, literally. We say that money doesn't grow on trees, paper does, but if we cut down our forests and we do a bad forestry politics, paper cannot be called sustainable. And if we look at the production of paper, it's both more energy and water intensive when we compare it to plastic production. So paper, it's not this perfect material that will solve all our issues. And it's unrecyclable if wet. So anytime it rains, either when you are transporting your goods or when paper is placed for sorting, it will get wet. And if you want to annoy an environmentalist, ask them what's better, a paper bag or plastic bag, because it's one of the biggest discussions that we have. I would say that reusable bag is the best option than the paper bag, plastic bag. If you look at the big picture, it's still not as good as paper bag. The paper bag is better. If you look at glass, once more, it's one more interesting material. It can be designed for reuse, and it's actually reused in many cases. In Latvia, for example, I just have to check. Yeah, in Latvia, for example, we have our deposit system, so we return bottles for drinks in deposit return system, and if plastic is collected for recycling, a lot of our beer bottles in Latvia are collected for reuse. They are actually getting reused. So that's a good side of plastic. It's chemically inert, so what we put inside, nothing will get out of the glass and inside the product. It's important for cosmetics and food. It can be recycled and it's hermetic, so it's materials that we can put wet things inside and they will not get out. Cons for glass. It's heavy, so if we transport it, and for glass it's much more notable if we look at the data, it produces a lot more CO2 emissions when transported, and production is more energy intensive. So when we transport it, when we produce it, it uses a lot of energy when compared to plastic. And if we look at circularity, once more, how much glass becomes glass packaging once more, you can go to one more study of Zero Waste Europe, how circular is glass. And according to their data, single-use glass bottles have the highest associated greenhouse gas emissions. And if you look at the data of recycling, how much glass becomes glass packaging, once more, the data are not as good as we think. So we have a lot of things to work on in our life cycle. Yeah, bioplastic. It's a magical, interesting material. I see I don't have a lot of time left, so I will speak quicker. Good side, it comes from biodegradable sources, and bioplastic bags, it's one of the uses for bioplastic, can be used for bio-waste collection. There's a lot of misconceptions and lack of regulation of what is bioplastic. It's not accepted in many separate collection systems, so it's neither composted nor recycled, it just becomes waste, let's say landfilled. And it has many of the same disadvantages of plastic, and it's not usually non-reusable. And reusable packaging, that's a thing that people usually forget, because we like to speak about different types of single-use packaging, but more and more even big companies are working towards reusable packaging. As you see, even Nestlé, they have their own initiatives, and Procter & Gamble. And here I have our deposit sign for reusable bottles. But to use reusable packaging, I hope all of you are not just saying it's impossible. It takes a lot of systemic change. It's easy to implement on business to business, not to people. It has the lowest environmental impact, but if you are one company, it's quite hard to do it. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. And of course, it involves a lot of changes in the system in order to use this reusable packaging, and it cannot be used for all of the products. Priority for reusable packaging should be locally consumed products, dry products with long use by date, so grain, flowers, such things, and business-to-business transportation. For in Latvia, we have these zero-waste shops, and they have a lot of contact with local companies, that companies bring them their products, and then they take their packaging back and use them once more. So this is a good idea where to start to your way towards reusability. Now I will quickly go through the regulation of EU that's coming. I will not go into details because numbers can change. It's just a project, and there's a lot of heated discussions in the European Union what to do and what to include in this regulation. Because basically the European Union wants to take all of the norms regarding packaging and make them non-national, but put them in the regulation, so make them the same in all Europe. It will be fun. So what will impact you? You can read this online. I will just mention some things. They want to create a concrete criteria for over-packaging. So if they want to put limits on how much air, how much empty space there can be in the packaging, and how big the packaging should be for smaller and bigger products. So you cannot put something small in an extremely big packaging just to make it look better. This is one of the most important things. There are ideas to put mandatory use of recycled plastic in plastic packaging, both for non-food and for food products. It's very hard, as you know, to use recycled plastic for food packaging because we have these very strict food contact material norms. Let's see how it goes, but in future you might have to use recycled packaging in your products. All the packaging should be recyclable. So there will be a clear definition of what packaging can be considered recyclable, and companies after 2030 should not be able to use this packaging. So the stress goes slowly away from sorting of the waste to the producers to put recyclable packaging on the market. These are old targets for recycling of packaging materials, but now they will be placed in this regulation as well. One more fun thing are reuse targets for different types of packaging. So if you are using pallets or boxes or whatever for transporting your products, there might be concrete, precise norms for reuse of these products. You will not be able to throw them away. You will have to reuse them, and how, I don't know how, nobody knows it yet. You will have to show this data for European Union. There is a lot of this reuse target. Depending on your business, you should take a look at it. And you have packaging waste reduction targets. So by 2030, we as EU plan to make 5% less packaging waste that we did before compared to 2018, and then it becomes more and more strict. So packaging should become lighter and it should become only used when necessary. I will just quickly go through some of the things that I've seen when producers are choosing their packaging to conclude this discussion. Reusable packaging is best. Only what needed, simpler, lighter, and easier to separate, it's the second best option. So you should really think about first reusable options and then look at all the criteria, not only choose the easiest option. Use recycled materials when possible, because usually people think about recyclability, but you should create a market for recycled materials. And as you see, it might become mandatory in European Union. Follow the data. Sometimes people do it the other way around. They look at the packaging they have and then find the environmental criteria. As you saw, I could make a good case for glass being the most sustainable option, for paper being the most sustainable option, for plastic being the most sustainable option. But you really have to look at the data and understand which of these options is best for you and then speak about it. Don't just pick out, like cherry pick the good points of your packaging and then tell that everything is sustainable. This is very important. Do not trust packaging producers. Those people who are trying to sell you packaging, they will say that everything is recyclable and everything is good. Speak with other involved parties, waste management companies, municipalities, zero waste organizations, experts, what's actually recyclable and what's not. We have a very case of company in Latvia that did a very good thing. They put these huge signs on their packaging saying it's recyclable, sorted. Unfortunately, it was polypropylene and it was not recyclable at Latvia. In this case, and even now, in many parts of Latvia, you cannot even sort this waste. So do not trust the producers of packaging. Speak with other involved parties. And as you can imagine, situation between different countries can be different. So ask locally and think where you're going to export your packaging. And think about lock-in effect before bigger investments, because if you buy machines for using certain type of packaging, you might not be able to switch to different packaging later on. So be very careful when making these kinds of big investments. And be very careful when placing statements on sustainability and green on your packaging, because they sometimes, if you look at the data, a lot of them are greenwashing. And one more thing that I didn't mention, use existing systems. One thing I didn't mention regarding this European regulation, they have plans for using united system for communicating sorting of waste and waste materials as well, and it's quite probable they will use these squares you see down there that are made in Denmark and that basically state what kind of where this waste should be put. Is it packaging? Is it paper? Is it biological waste? Is it metal? So you might have to put these things on your packaging mandatory. You might start to do it voluntarily already. And gather data and make clear targets, not only for recyclability, but for reduction of packaging, especially plastic packaging, single-use plastic packaging. It's Ellen MacArthur Foundation has a great program for targets for reduction of plastic and plastic improvements of waste management. And a lot of big companies, both big and small, are making targets of reducing packaging. And as you see, it will be one of European Union targets if this regulation will be approved. So you will be able to show how you are helping achieve these targets, and it will be easier for you to use European market. And as you can understand, future is pro-reusable, pro-recycled, and pro-recyclable. So that's the directions you should work on. Thank you.
Much, Mairit, a lot for your presentation. I think this topic is highly important for Ukrainian companies for doing business with European Union, because I even make a mark notes that when I started to work with Eurofunded projects 10 years ago, it was like that there was some group of responsible people who spoke about this, about sustainability, about reuse of packaging and packaging issues. In nowadays, packaging is really in European Union high-level hot topic, and it will increase much more so because European Union has said that they want to be sustainable. They want to be sustainable area. So be ready because this is a topic important also for all companies. They also need to step by step start to think about this sustainable strategies. So I think this topic is very important for doing business with European Union and take into consideration every single advice that you received from Iveta today. So thank you very much once more. And now I really would like to say every single participant of webinar that you are so strong enough for being with us all those hours what already have passed, and we still have very important 2 topics upcoming. So stay with us till the 3rd hour with us. Next speaker, we will have a Juris Grīķis, who is president of Latvian Furniture Association, and he will have a topic very important for every single furniture producer: access to export markets. So this, I think, also is a high-level speaker for you who has came to us to our webinar. And Mr. Juris Grīķis has a wide experience in the field. And please evaluate every suggestion from his side for using it in practice. And yes, the floor is yours, Mr. Juris Grīķis. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, guys. So yes, I represent Latvian foresters and especially furniture industry. Latvian forests, we have a lot of woods in Latvia, and briefly you can see for some figures about forest industry, about our export. We are doing very large export for our foresters. Made some more than 4 billion euros export. But furniture, we as the furnitures make not so much, but still 260 millions. Before I came there, I checked your industry, your furniture. You have very strong association, furniture association, and the figures amazed me. You do a very good export to the Europe mostly, and to the closest countries. Your major markets are Poland, Germany, etc. And you have pretty nice companies and pretty nice designs. I told you, it amazed me. But compared to the population, compare many value what you get from export compared to our population, we do several times more. It means that we are more effectively than you. That's why I'm here to share some knowledge, so to testify some things what I am personally and my colleagues what we passed already to conquer in export markets. Export market, it's very important because it brings money in. Yes, you can see in first slide you can see briefly figures about our industry, and let's take a next look. What about in larger scale? Lithuanian furniture are very big compared to our because of well-known Swedish brand where they are exporting. Latvian softwood, we are doing well because we have a lot of softwoods. We have mostly spruce and pine wood. If you are interested in these woods, you're warmly welcome, guys. Spruce and pine. Mostly it be used in the construction industry, but you can use pine wood in same as in furniture industry. So Estonian are number one in wooden houses. They are doing well. because of closest Norwegian Scandinavian markets. We are doing very well in energy pallets and of course in plywood. We have company Latvia's Veneers where you can get a batch wood plywood, and this is very high end plywood and high-end product. Briefly, you can see our some lines, some companies. We use birch, oak, and spruce, pine, ash, and maple, etc. And of course plywood and different kind of the boards. I have 2 factories. I mean, personally, I'm using your oak wood, and definitely I know the factories who used your nice oak, what is clear oak, and you can be proud of this oak, and this is very good raw material, yeah, and. So furniture, if you're talking about export furniture, mostly compared to your major markets are Poland, Germany, and this like West. We are doing more north. Our major markets are Scandinavian markets, Sweden, Denmark, Sweden, little UK too. This is a very specific market we will talk about a little later. And the Estonian, of course, Baltic, it's our common market, but going real export, it means overseas, I can say. It is markets mostly Scandinavian. Very big market is Sweden. Sweden is suffering now with the lack of orders they don't have, but they're passing crisis. But still, this is a very big market. Norway, it's very close to Sweden. You need to pass Sweden to get to inside to the Norway, but be careful. Norway, it's not a part of European Union, European Community. That means that you need to. There will be certain documentation you need to fill up to get in this market. Yeah, if we talk about the Scandinavian markets, Denmark, it's high-end market. There's a lot of potentials, and this is a huge, especially for furniture. But the question is the most important question: how to get in. How to get in. I have a formula how to get in. Formula means a count to 3. 1, 2, 3, you are in. Yes. It's not so easy. You need to count. We work in Norway market, and it took from the first shake hand for first shaking hand in a fair. It took 2 years. It took 2 years to start export. But let's go closer to this matter. My presentation, it will be very academic and very short. You need to think about this 4 P's. First P, you probably heard about marketing and Philip Kotler, who creates this formula, this 4 P's. And the first in this 4 P's, I will recover it. This is product, price, place, promotion. Yeah. And this you need to account to to start to export or to be already in the export. Let's talk about first product. Of course, your product are the best. I'm sure your product are the best, and but if you want to export it, you need to think not only about product, you need to think about the packaging. Packaging is very important. Packaging, you already previous lecture, you heard about a previous lecture about the very tiny nuances of this packaging and recycling and etc. and repackaging. But in furniture business, packaging, it's very important thing. Think about this. Labeling, packaging, labeling, it will follow the packaging, but it is, I can say, it's 1/3 of our success to be in these markets. Let's talk about this very sensitive thing. It's price. Yeah. I just last week talk with one Ukrainian company who will supply me materials, and they don't know. If you want to export, you need to know export language. It's not a French even, it's not English, it's Incoterm language. You need to know these Incoterms. This is about shipping, about taxing, about all this stuff, and you need to know this ex-works and delivery duty and delivery duty paid, delivery duty unpaid. You need to know as a vocabulary. It's like a routine. You need to know this. But okay, what about right pricing? Right price your products. Everybody wants to get as much as possible for your unique piece of this furniture, unique product. Yeah. Even you have nice packing, but you want to get it. I will mention that there are some four stages where you can get higher when you can ask higher price for this for your product. If you are selling your craftsmanship, your skills, your just materials, you can get roughly. I can for comparing $10. If you add, you need to add to this same materials, same labor, a little bit labor more, but add some value, design value, and you can get out of this 20. It sounds better. It sounds better. When you add to this, when you name this is my I can say chair, Albert, my chair. You need to name it. You have to have brand, and then you can ask even 4 times more than at the third stage, and then you will have a story behind all these 3 stages. You can have even 8 times more. Yeah, it is true, and it is. What do you need to understand from this simple truth? You need to understand in which stages are you, and you need to understand what is your level of the price you are able to ask for your customer. So if you are selling, or you're selling, you're just a craftsman's or you are selling designs, craftsman's, or you are selling branded, or you are selling a story of this stuff. Most I can open the secrets. Most Latvian furniture producers, big, nice, good, high skilled and high equipped factories work as in the first stage, in a crafts stage, because nobody lets them go in with. Nobody accepts our design. Nobody accepts even our brands. Nobody accepts we don't have a story yet, and that's a thing. Yeah, that's a thing. So let's talk about next P, second P, place. This is a battle place. No, but I can say the place I can divide in two different. I'm not talking about certain market, certain region, but I'm talking about overall this process. You will meet B2B, your customer, where you can get this customer. Of course, in trade shows. They are the major trade shows the major trade shows in all over the Europe. This is definitely Cologne, EMM messe, furniture messe once per year. Milano messe, Birmingham furniture show, Stockholm Furniture Fair, and these are the largest ones. And you see, I saw your booth already in some of these messes. But there is some mistakes what are doing the companies who are participating in these messes, and I want to point this mistakes to avoid the situations where you can spend money more or less, and you didn't get some results for this. The expectation are more than incomes after this mess. You see. Or bigger or smaller companies participating in these messes, they don't know this European rules and European trades, and they are aiming straight ahead to the largest shows. Milano, I want to go to the Milano. Of course, I want to go to Cologne Messe, and so. But this is mistaken a little bit. Check the more niche messes. They're in all over the Europe, especially in Germany, even in France. It's closest your markets. There is a niche messes. What does it mean, niche mess? It means that there's some for example, boutique hotel mess. Nobody knows this, but this is much less mess than much. It's just one little mess. It's in London and in Amsterdam. Last year we participating in these messes, and these are more niche messes. To go in this mess, you need to fill the some application, and they will tell you a decision. They will let you go in or not let you go in. To go to fill the application, it's easy, but to step in this messes, it's not easy, because you need to have first of all you need to have good product. Secondary, you need to have good photos of this product, and that's a failure of the furniture producers. They probably have it already. Furniture have a nice piece of furniture, good design, but they don't have good photos. You need to have good photos. You need to have good advertisement to show that we are able to be a part of this show. That's the benefits of this show. These little shows takes not so big time. They are not takes 4 days. They are some of these shows takes only some 1-2 days. But there's a niche shows. They are and participants are only specialists. Only and these guys who come in incomers are only these who buyers. These are very serious, and benefits are it's not so expensive as this large messes. As I know, you already participate in this small messe in Germany, the special order messe, MOV messe. Not EMM messe, it's a huge festival of furniture, of big companies' furniture, but it's a MOV messe. It's a much smaller, but this order messe. But one thing, if you want to participate abroad in some messe, you need to have some sales representative, sales rep we call, who speaks this native language. If you're in French, you definitely need to have some in a booth some person who speaks French. In Dutch, you need to have Dutch. In Norway, same. This is a rule, and what you can get with when you participate in these fairs, don't be sad that nobody will buy your product as it is, because there are different habits, there are different markets, there are different needs. But maybe you can have if somebody appreciate you as a company, if somebody appreciate your quality, maybe you can get some contracts from this, not related to your product, but related to your product, but not your product exactly. But they can offer you. Can you produce the same quality? This our product. They can offer you ODM. It's original design manufactured. You can get this. This will be great for to enter this market. You need to swallow your pride and work as a contractor, but you will be part of this in this big motion. You will be part of export. You can get export in these guys, and if you want to successfully export to any country, by yourself you couldn't do it. You need to have agent. Especially it is in Germany. They have agent unions. Even Germany is divided by several north, west, east, and south parts. They divide. These agents are very strictly, and the question: how much do I need to pay to this agent? It's not the top secret. Agents cost some from 5 till 10%. It means you need to add to the price, final price. This you need to know this and be ready for these figures. If they ask more, you need to ask, okay, in counter question is the volumes, and if they will ask you about this exclusivity, be careful. Everybody will ask. Always agents will be independent, and they will ask, give me exclusivity. But in other hand, you will ask them, what about volumes? Okay, could you guarantee that this certain volumes of the sales? To be frankly speaking, where you can find these agents, you visit this agents24.com. And write application. It costs some hundreds euros, and you can find some agent who are interested to sell your products. You make a agent agreement, and for first time, no more than 1 year, please. And you can afford your goals, and then. So B2B, it means agents, or first stage it's ODM. If you will get a contract from this fair, it will be great. Assume it, find and regarding to this shows. I know you Ukrainian furniture makers are in the last EMM I met you there. You have a big, nice Ukrainian national booth, and my advice is, if only you can avoid national booths, because of everybody who steps in national booth. Okay, I know that the price level, what I can ask for them. Yeah, if they this is my advice. And if only you can afford, rent a smaller but your own brand booth in this fair. Of course, it's cost you much more, but the benefits and your results will be much higher than you will show your own brand in your own booth. And I already participated myself in several fairs. And we have beautiful booth, 100 square meters, our brand heavens. And these Germans came and they said, okay, I saw you are good, and you are very good, and your price level are same as good as your product. But if you will be there at least 3 years ahead, you will get a contract from me. But it cost 50,000. This boot. Okay. By other hand, but the trade shows, it's for sure. B2C. B2C, there's a big platforms where you can get right away to the market. It's Architectonics.com network and Archiexpo.com. What's the difference? A lot of people ask me about what's the difference between all this stuff. The difference is Archiexpo. They bought Archiexpo Architectonics. It's you need to pay for it. It's 2,000 or 3,000 euros per year. And to be in this, you need to have a product, you need to have a photos, and but what's the difference? Archiexpo shows the prices. It means that already you have it's already a marketplace. It's already a marketplace at the center of Europe, and these are platforms for first of all for architects, designers. If you think that your product is deserved to be in this stages, designers, architects, and if you have the nice photos, try to get in. To get in, that's the same. It's not easy, but it's not so complicated as it looks like. But I encourage you. Go for it. Yeah, this is very short. And what else I can say? No, promotion. That's 4P. I promised you 4Ps. Promotion is. I think Ukraine doesn't need promotion at all. Just the word Ukraine just promote, say everything. That's it. But one thing is what I want to warn you. Be careful with this meaning Ukraine. If everybody will start to use this word for a promotion, it will lose value at all. You need to have some certain procedure who deserve, who can use this the word or who not. That's promotion. Promotion costs much more, and promotion it is the story, and all world knows your story. We are with you, guys. What I can say at the end, I can say I would love to invite you to the closest furniture fair in Latvia. We have local furniture fairs, trade show for furniture, interiors, lighting and design. It will take place in Riga. And in the dates of 13 till 15 of October. It's not so large as Cologne or Stockholm messes, but it's in the 2 halls. But you can see, and this year it's anniversary year. There's 10th year anniversary of this event, and there will be where you can meet our major brands, furniture brands, and through this mess you can get the contacts or more. And if you need contacts, we are here. We are Latvian furniture producers. I am in the head of it, and director Iveta are always we always are. On shape, always we are open for new contacts. Always we are open for collaborations. So, and we stand for you guys. We stand for you. Thank you. If you have questions, I would love to hear questions.
Yeah. At the moment, I see that there is no questions.
Very sad.
Very sad.
No
yes.
interest. It means no interest.
No, actually, maybe there is interest. Just people sometimes are a little bit shy to use this option to.
You can ask. If you are not familiar with English. You can ask me Russian. I'm fluently in Russian. No, I'm Latvian, but I'm fluently in Russian. But most important is to understand each other. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a little bit silence, but the good thing is that actually I think some Ukrainian furniture companies will meet you hopefully next week. Then they will have incoming study tour here to Latvia, and so there is also option to provide maybe some direct already on private questions to you. But really a huge thank you to you because this presentation, I was really curious actually, to be very frankly speaking, that partly if we are looking very honestly on the business, and of course each furniture producer is some kind of way competitor in the European Union market, but you gave really practical presentation really about main marketing 4 Ps, what is like a basic of basic for doing business.
It is, yes.
Yes, without that you cannot be in the business, no. And without that you cannot be in export as well. So I think that was really like a basic of basic, and all these tips and tricks what you shared with you is, I think, very useful for Ukrainian companies as well. Especially that this webinar will be recorded, and it's recorded, and it will be shared much more, not only for registered companies, but also shared to the general in Ukrainian networks. So it will be spread out, and target audience hopefully will be much wider than only registered 40 participants who was today with us. So thank you once more, Mr. Juris Gritis, for this really useful presentation, and step by step we are finally moving forward to the next speaker. thanks to everybody who has been with us so far and still is with us. Today's last presentation is about certifications. As you already heard from Veterinary, Food Service, and also customs, and also even if we spoke about furniture sector, and even if we speak about packaging, all around there is mentioned certification, some certificates, some documentation that presents quality of product, quality of packaging, quality of sales. All around goes topic certification. So, and therefore today we will have a speaker. Yes, final presentation is quite important as well, and will request quite a lot of attention from your side as well. But the speaker is really like with experience on the field, and she will have an option to provide hopefully the most practical things that you can use for doing business in European Union. So I invite Ina Benta, expert for BM certification company. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello everyone. Hello in Ukraine. Today my target is introduce you with my BM certification and also with myself. The short version in one sense about myself. So my education is based in food technology. Then I have around 20 years production experience in food sector, and then at least 2 years I'm working in BM certification as a food certification manager. And about BM certification. Allow me to present you to BM certification as an independent certification body that has been making significant strides in also in food certification field, and also BM certification provides auditing, certification, and also training services. Then a little bit about our history. For more than 15 years, BM certification has been operating in the field of certifications and specialized in various types of certifications and industries, and also including at least 5 years in the food sector. I want to mention our team is our strength. This is in the photo is our Latvian teams, but we are becoming bigger and bigger. Our strength is our team, competence, and also experience. And also we work individually with each client and their needs, which is also our strength part. And we are not only auditors, but also partners who recognize needs and challenge of our clients and companies. So here you see the big world map, and where you can see that all countries were issued our certificates. As you see, operating is not only in our home country Latvia, but also extending in Germany, Finland, Baltic states, also in Ukraine, and even beyond. BM certificate has truly made a mark on global scales, and last year the last one was Indonesia in that part of world. And as I said, the BM certification has chosen to focus its efforts on 3 essential pillars, which is one is auditing, second is certification, and third is training services. A little bit from experience part. Here you can see our one of the clients, and what is the biggest benefits of certification? It's of course its company's prestige, quality assurance, positive measures of partners, employees, and owners. One of the biggest, I think, why companies choose to be certified, it's cost reduce reducing through process optimizations, and also new markets and opportunities to increase turnover and then many other benefits. And as I mentioned before, our field is not only food certification. The food certification, I would like to say, it's the youngest one. And here you can say all our services. It's a quality, health and environmental, energy management, information security and data security. One of the biggest also is supply chain certification, construction, product certification, and more and more and more. And today, a little bit more for than food safety certification and trainings. One part is management systems. It's not food safety, but usually also food industry chooses ISO 40001. And also in the basic is ISO 9001 certification, which is quality management system. And 40001 is more for environmental management system. So other two schemes which are related to food is ISO 45001 and also 15001 energy management system. And as you see, we can offer also GMP+, which is good manufacture practice of food, supplements or cosmetics, and trainings for all these ISO schemes. And now a little bit more for food safety certifications. How can we help and how can we work together? Firstly, BM certification offer motivation trainings. In basic, that is trainings for all schemes. The second is what we can offer is gap audits, which means like a pre-audit before official certification audits, and also we can perform certification audits and issue an accredited certificate. So now we can see a little bit deeper in each type of scheme. One of the basic is in ISO 22000, which is International Food Safety Management System standard, which has been developed using the ISO high-level structure, and also is one of the basic standards, and usually companies, the small ones, start with this certification type. ISO 22000 is a combination with core elements of the ISO 9001, which is, as I said, quality management scheme, and also plus HACCP system demonstrates organization commitment and providing consumers with a safe food. In global market for this standard is one minus because ISO 22000 is not included in under GFSI schemes, which are usually required by the big market players and also the big cooperation partners. So this is about ISO 22000. Then the next one is FSC 2000. And this standard is for which are recognized by GFSI. The good thing it's 80% is ISO 22000 standard basic, and from ISO 22000 requirements and additional prerequisite programs and FCC added requirements. These two types of certifications. It's 3-year cycle, which means in first year you have a initial year when you got a certificate, then you have a second and third year you have a surveillance audit. But certificate are issued for 3 years. So the next one is BRCGS. Before it was called like BRC. We have 2 schemes which operate in global food certification, and one of them is this BRCGS. Difference with ISO or FSC standards, this standard, the certificate are issued for 1 year, and accordingly this certification audit takes place every year, and also there's a specific requirements are defined in standard, and also need the personnel to maintain this standard and on a daily basis. This standard comes from UK, but the next one, which is called IFS, Food Safety and Quality Standard, that is based in Germany, so in Europe. This standard IFS has become more and more popular in Europe, and also this certificate is also issued for 1 year and need to be make a recertification every year. Difference BRC and IFS, there is quite similar, and a lot of requirements need to be documented and need to be proving in audit. So it will be more for food manufacturers. Then one more certification type is Global GAP standard, which is standard for good agriculture practice. And this standard is currently which is intended for farmers for certification of vegetables and fruits such as potatoes, carrots, apples, etc., etc. This certification is often required by large chain stores as a Lidl's, Rimi, and also from large vegetable production companies. Then we have also RSPO, which is supply chain certification for palm oil. The RSPO certificate confirms the company produced contained palm oil, which is obtained from responsibly managed palm plantations. And RSPO certification is applicable to all food and household products that use palm oil, palm kernel oil, or products developed from it. That is shortly about RSPO. And one more we have, its standard is Rainforest Alliance. And most often this certificate is chosen by coffee and confectionery manufacturers which use cacao or hazelnuts or coffee in the production of chocolates, biscuits, or sweet sauces. Then about food sector trainings. We offering trainings, related trainings of schemes. So as I said, the basic is ISO 22000, also for FSC. Now they are changing versions from 5.1 to 6 versions. Then we have trainings for BRC, IFS, Global GAP, RSPO. We offering trainings in groups, and also we are offering individual approach in the company. Sometimes the large companies with large quality team, then we make individual trainings for companies. Usually we provide trainings remotely and in English. The most recent of the trainings is Food Safety Management System Culture trainings, which is a new requirement for all GFSI recognized standards, which mean culture trainings fits for FSC, BRC, IFS, and soon also for Global GAP. It's shortly about trainings. Then a couple of words for supply chain certification. Such a FC or PEF certification. In this type, if you are interested in one of these certificates, feel free to contact us and we will help you with these types of certifications. And the newest one, Sustainable Development, we are also offering LAC, which is Life Cycle Assessment. And after that one, you can get also Product Declaration, which is APD. And one more newest is CO2 footprint. And we also offering this CO2 footprint calculation. What does it mean? The entire company footprint in nature, consuming, and that what is impact it leaves on natures. And that is very shortly from my side all. I wanted to mention, or as you know, our home country is Latvia, but also in Ukraine we have our own branch office and with managing director Ihor. So feel free to contact with us in Latvia and also in Ukraine. And as I know from my experience, every manufacturer is like individual needs, and please feel free to write email and ask for any questions what you have. Yeah. That's, I guess it's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ina, for this, again, very practical and useful presentation. As you can see, there's a lot of type of certifications that might be necessary or are necessary for doing business in European Union. And the good thing is that you already has a contact to the helper and supporter who is ready to provide, concrete support for receiving those certificates. That sometimes it might save much more time and resources for going through all the declarations, regulations, and everything to doing by yourself. So, and not always everything is possible to do by yourself. So, yeah, and with this presentation, actually, we are closing today's webinar. What was quite long enough and quite important and useful, full with information, but you can use it in all your daily businesses. I really hope that you will find out practical usage from this webinar, and our colleagues from Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry also will share feedback forms, what is very necessary for us to receive feedback from you to organize better webinars in near future. So, and so keep in touch. The information will come up about upcoming webinars this year and also start of the next year. And as a closure words, I would like to say thank you for Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Latvia, who supports this project, Latvia second, and of course team of Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who also is organizing and spreading out information about webinars to Ukraine, and of course team of Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who is organizing this and implementing the project. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, and see you soon in the next webinars.